Hello students, so today we are going to discuss the last phase of light, that is part 3. What we have to study in this part is dispersion. The topic that is to be studied today is dispersion. Before going on to dispersion, I just want to go through certain topics. The first one is that total internal reflection. So, what is total internal reflection? We know that whenever a substance passes from a denser medium to a rarer medium, what happens? Suppose this is a light. It comes from denser to rarer medium and there is a normal here. What will happen? Instead of going straight, it will bend away from the normal. This is my normal rule. Now, just I am giving some examples. This is a normal. This is the normal. This is the normal. And this is the normal. In every case, I have denser to rarer, denser to rarer, denser to rarer, and again denser to rarer. These are the 4 cases. In the first one, I have a very less angle of incidence, say 30 or 35. What will happen? So instead of going straight, my ray will be refracted away from the normal. Okay? Then again, I have increased my angle of incidence to a bit. I have increased the angle. So instead of going straight, it will be again refracted back. Okay? Now I am increasing the angle of incidence. So what will happen? Instead of going straight, it will go like this. Again it is going away from the normal. In each case, it is going away from the normal. Then comes such an angle of incidence that for this, instead of going straight, it will go away from the normal. Means the ray is getting reflected. देखो reflect हो जा रहा है. Instead of getting refracted, the ray is getting reflected itself. This property is known as total internal reflection. So what is total internal reflection? That whenever a light travels from a denser medium to a rarer medium, instead of getting refracted, the light is getting reflected within the denser medium. This property is known as total internal reflection. And it will take only for a particular angle of incidence. Sob angle of incidence ekdin hoy na, ekta particular angle of incidence hoy. So therefore, what are the conditions? The first condition, that the light must travel from denser medium to rarer medium. This must be the first condition. And what is the second condition? Angle of incidence must be the angle of, it must be greater than the critical angle. Now what is the critical angle? This is called the critical angle. The critical angle is the angle of incidence for which the angle of refraction is 90 degree. And whenever my angle of incidence exceeds this critical angle, I will get a total internal reflection. So what is critical angle? Critical angle is the angle of incidence for which the angle of refraction is 90 degree. And the angle of incidence when exceeds the critical angle, total internal reflection takes place. The critical angle is different for different substances. That is for quartz glass. I have a different critical angle. For diamond, I have a different critical angle. For water, I have a different critical angle. So there are different critical angles for different substances, and these are the two conditions which are required for total internal reflection. Now, this total internal reflection and the critical angle has a role in determining the property of the refracting medium. The refracting medium has how much refractive index. So therefore, this is again a new formula for refractive index. What is the formula of refracting index? We have already studied now. Refractive index can be calculated by three formulae. The first one, speed in medium 1 by speed in medium 2. The second one, sin I by sin R. And the third one is real depth by apparent depth. Now, in case of critical angle, the refractive index can be also described as 1 by sin C. Okay, 1 by sin C. Correct? So, this is how my critical angle plays a role in determining whether my total internal reflection will take place or not. Now, do I have any use of this critical angle? Yes. Do I have any use of this total internal reflection? Yes. It is used in basically three places. One, in mirage. Second, in looming of water. And third, in formation of rainbow. Correct. So, the formation of rainbow will be discussed later in the later part of the class. But this mirage and looming of water shall be discussed right away. Now, what is mirage? You might have noticed that in extreme hot summer days, when you are still looking straight in a road or when you are looking straight on a highway, you will feel that some kind of reflection is taking place on the road. A watery substance is poured over the road and some reflection is being seen. Reflection of moving cars, reflection of the trees, reflection of the buses and other sideway objects. Now, where is the reflection coming from? Where is the water coming from? Actually, that is not water. That is mirage. How? Suppose there is a tree on a hot place. Suppose on a desert. There is a desert and there is a tree over the desert. We know that the layers of air are not same. They have different densities, different properties at different layers. I have stratosphere, I have troposphere, I have mesosphere, I have ionosphere. Even within troposphere also, different layers are present for different heights of air. So, at the height of the bottommost air, is the hottest one. It is being touched with the layer of the earth. That's why it has the highest temperature. And as the temperature increases, the pressure decreases. So this one has the lowest pressure or the minimum pressure. As we go above, the temperature reduces and the pressure increases. Therefore, the air at the bottommost layer, this has the least density and air at the topmost has the maximum density. So what happens? Suppose a person is standing here. Okay, then the light coming from the top of the tree will have to pass different layers of air, and the different layers of air are in such a way that it has to pass from denser to rarer. Because it is maximum density, it has least density. So from denser medium to rarer medium. So whenever the light passes from denser to rarer, it moves away from the normal, and from the normal it moves in such a way that due to critical angle, the light bends above. So what does this person see? This person sees that the light are coming from this place due to rectilinear propagation. We always see that the light is coming from a straight line. So instead of seeing the tree top here, the person will see the tree top here and will think that there is a reflection of the tree below. Got it? The person will see the reflection of the tree at the bottom. So he will think that there is water present here. That is called the mirage in case of deserts. So I am repeating once again. In hot places, the surface of air which is touching the ground has the maximum temperature and hence the minimum density. And as we go high, the temperature reduces and the density increases. When the light from top of the air surface travels below, it travels from denser medium to a rarer medium. So there are chances that it will undergo total internal reflection. And due to this total internal reflection, the light that is coming from top seems to be coming from the bottom. That's why we are seeing a reflection type of thing. This is called mirage and it takes place in warmer places. Now, what happens in the colder places? Suppose there is a sea, and there is a ship around here. Generally, what happens? The surface of air that touches the warmer land gets heated up quickly. Similarly, the surface of air which touches the sea or which touches the land gets cooled easily. So here opposite happens. That is, the surface of air at the bottom of the water is most dense and the surface of air at the top is less dense. So here we have less density and here we have more density in case of colder places. This was in hot, this was in warm places, and this is in cold places. This is known as looming of water. So if a person is standing on the shore, then the light has to travel from here to here. Now while moving from a denser to rarer medium, what happens? Total internal reflection takes place. So the person will be seeing this boat in the air. Instead of seeing the boat at the bottom, the person will see the boat at the air. It will see the boat floating in the air. This is also done because of the total internal reflection when the light from the denser regions of the air travels to the less denser regions of the air. This is known as looming of water. So this total internal reflections has basically two uses. One, the mirage, and the second one is looming of water. Now, we can use this total internal reflection for making reflecting surfaces from refractive surfaces. Such as we can use a prism. We can use a prism for making a plain glass mirror. How? Internal reflection in prisms. Suppose this is a prism given, and it is given that is an equilateral prism with each angle as 60 degree, and the critical angle here is given as 45. Suppose this is the question given. Then and you are asked that a ray of light falls here. Trace the path of light in this prism. Okay. So when a light goes perpendicularly to a surface, what happens? It does not change its path. It will go straight away inside. Okay. So this is my way. Now I have to draw a normal here. Okay. If this is 60, this is perpendicular. What about this angle? This angle becomes 30 degree. And what about this angle? this angle becomes 60 degree. Now what was my critical angle for this prism? The critical angle for this prism was given as 45 and the angle of incidence here is 60 degree. As the angle of incidence is more than the critical angle, total internal reflection will take place and the ray will be reflected like this. Means this angle will also be 60 degree. Clear? So here again I will draw a normal. Okay. Now, if this is 60, then this angle will be 30. This is 30, this is 60, then this angle again will be 30. If this angle is 30, then what about this angle? This angle will again be 60. Means the incident angle is 60. Again it is greater than the critical angle. So there will be a total internal reflection. What I will get? I will get a reflection here again. And it is perpendicular, no change will be there. So this angle again will be 60 degrees. So I have got a reflection. The ray was going from this side, the ray came back again. So I am using this as a mirror but without using a mirror. So this is how prisms can be used for getting a reflection. You will be asked to find other angles also. For example, see. You are given like this. The top angle is 90 degree and these two angles are 45 and 45. Okay. So ray of light enters the prism through this way and here also the critical angle C equals to 45 degree. Okay. Now how to trace this angle? When the ray enters perpendicular, it will go straight without any deviation. So it has moved on to this one. If this is 45, this is perpendicular means 90. What about this angle? It will also be again 45. If this is 45, then on drawing a normal, what will be this angle? This angle will be also 45 because the total angle of a normal is 90 degree. So what I am getting? I am getting the angle of incidence as 45. And what is the critical angle? It is also 45. So when the angle of incidence is more than the critical angle, when the angle of incidence is more than the critical angle, then what will happen? Then the prism will, then a total internal reflection will take place. But if both are same, then what will happen? Then the angle of refraction will be 90 degree. So my ray will travel like this, as my angle of refraction is 90. So this is also the thing. So you have to consider that what is the angle of incidence of your prism. When you are getting the angle of incidence, you have to check about the critical angle. If the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle, then total internal reflection. If angle of incidence is equals to critical angle, then refraction with angle of refraction equals to 90 degree. And if my angle of incidence is less than the critical angle, then ordinary refraction. There shall not be any special case. That is, the light will travel away from the normal because it's traveling from a denser medium to a rarer medium. So you have to consider these three topics before you can calculate whether a prism can be used for total internal reflection or not. These three properties. That angle of incidence should be greater than the critical angle, if angle of incidence is equal to critical angle, and if angle of incidence is less than the critical angle. Correct? Okay. Then the next topic that I was discussing at the beginning, that is dispersion. Now, what is this dispersion? Dispersion means whenever light travels through a prism, whenever a light travels through a prism, it breaks down into 7 constituent colors. Okay, it breaks down into 7 constituent colors while passing through a prism. This property is known as dispersion, and the band of 7 colors obtained is known as spectrum. You must have learned that Vibgyor in your earlier classes. This Vibgyor is in such a way that V comes at the bottom, I, B, G, Y, O and R. Means you will write the Vibgyor from bottom to top. Violet comes at the bottom and red comes at the top. So this is how my light divides into 7 colors to form a spectrum, and the property is known as dispersion. Now the question is why? Sir, क्यों dispersion होता है? Why does the dispersion occurs? As I told you in the refraction of lenses, refraction of prism, that this angle of deviation depends upon frequency and wavelength of light. Light with larger wavelength cannot be deviated much. Means the wavelength of the light, that I have light in 7 colors: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. The color of the light that has maximum wavelength, and which one has the maximum wavelength? Red. The red has the maximum wavelength, and hence it cannot be deviated much. As it is thicker, it has a large wavelength, it cannot be deviated. বেশি ব্যাকা করা যাবে না. It cannot be bent too much. It has to be passed away as almost straight. And the color with the least wavelength, जो दुबला पतला है, which is thin, that can be easily bent, that can be easily deviated. So the color which has the color of light, that is violet, has least wavelength, so it is deviated the most. So what happens if this is the prism and this is the light? Okay, light has so many colors: violet, indigo, blue, green, etc. The red does not deviate much. It does not deviate much, but violet deviates the most. So the bottommost color is violet and the topmost color is red, and all the colors fall in between. This is known as dispersion. The cause of dispersion is the difference of wavelength and frequency of different color of light. As the frequency and wavelength are different, their bending ability or their deviation ability are different. Depending on the deviation ability, they are deviated either at the bottom or they are least deviated. Correct? And the band of 7 colors obtained is known as spectrum. Now many of you will ask that the glass prism is made of glass and glass slab is also made up of glass. So what is so special in glass prism that deviation takes place or dispersion takes place, but in glass slab no such deviation or dispersion takes place? The reason is that this is a glass slab. I can consider the glass slab as a combination of 2 glass prisms. I can consider the glass slab as a combination of 2 glass prisms. So when the light enters here, the light breaks down into 7 colors. Okay, now as comparison to this prism, this is an inverted prism and it will also bend all the light towards the base. And what is the base of this? This one. So instead of splitting again, it will join the light like this. And what I get is a unified ray or a single ray. So no dispersion takes place in case of glass slab. A glass slab can be considered as a combination of two glass prisms in which the first prism deviates or breaks down the light into 7 colors, while the other prism recombines the light to get a single ray of light. So in case of a prism, I get a dispersion. In case of glass slab, I only get lateral displacement. No dispersion is seen. Correct? Now, you know that light is a form of electromagnetic spectrum, electromagnetic wave. Light is a form of electromagnetic wave which travels as massless particles known as photons. Light is a form of electromagnetic wave that travels in the form of massless particles. Massless particles. The particles of light don't have any mass. So these massless particles are known as photons. They don't have any mass. They have only energy. Correct? So this light can have both a visible and invisible spectrum because of this energy photons. So what is my spectrum of light? Spectrum is a dispersion or the band of colors that is available. We are able to see only the visible spectrum, the colored part, but some part of the spectrum is not visible to us. So this light is divided into many parts. The middle part is known as the visible spectrum. And these two parts is known as invisible spectrum. Means the light when dispersed produces both colors that can be seen and certain rays of energy that cannot be seen. That is known as invisible spectrum. So what are those invisible spectrum? The first category of this is gamma rays. Then we have, after gamma, we have X-rays. After X-ray, we have UV or ultraviolet rays. After the ultraviolet rays, there is a very thin spectrum of VIBGYOR. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Means the actual spectrum that we see is very thin as compared to this. A very thin band of VIBGYOR is seen. Then what we will be getting? We will be getting the other part. That is, the first is IR. That is infrared rays. Then we have microwaves. And finally we have radio waves. Okay, so this is the total spectrum of light. Means when a light is broken down, it is broken down as such a way. Only this portion of light is visible to us. Only this portion. Only this portion of light is visible to us. This and these are the invisible part, and they are basically energy rays. They are not the light rays. They are not visible to us, but they contain sufficient amount of energy. And we are going to read the uses of these and these in details, because the ultraviolet rays and infrared rays are used extensively in our day-to-day life. What are those? These ultraviolet rays. Now one more thing before telling this, why these are ultraviolet rays and these are used? Because as we move from top to bottom like this, wavelength increases. Therefore, energy decreases. The rays that are having larger wavelength are difficult to move. That's why their energy is less. And I move from this side to this side. From the bottom to the top, I will getting, here the frequency increases. Therefore, energy also increases. Frequency means the number of vibrations per second. So when I move from the radio waves to the gamma waves, my frequency or the vibrations increase. As the vibrations increase, my energy also increases. So as I move on this side, the energy increases. This ultraviolet rays has a high amount of energy. This gamma rays exercises more energies, but these energies are not controllable. They are very high radiation they are. So this ultraviolet rays has sufficient energy. And this ultraviolet rays, the energy of this ultraviolet rays is used for disinfection. That is, they are used for disinfecting, that is killing microbes. We are having that ultraviolet filters, that water filters in our home. They are using this ultraviolet rays for killing the germs present in them. Now, these ultraviolet rays are very harmful also. They have high energy, so they can easily penetrate deep into our body and can cause serious health hazards. So these ultraviolet rays should be cautiously used. But these infrared rays, they are very small. They are very harmless, or they do not cause much harm because they have short frequency. They cannot penetrate much. Their wavelength is high, but their frequency is less. Infrared red rays have basically heat in them. So they are thermal rays. Why? Because they have heat in them. They are thermal rays. So they can be used for heating purposes, for medical purposes, in cooking ovens. So these infrared rays have heat rays. They are used for heat applications, and ultraviolet rays are energy rays. They are used for disinfection. Correct? So this is the spectrum of light. The portion that is visible to us, that visual color, is known as visible spectrum, and the other two parts is known as invisible spectrum. Correct? Now we are moving on to the next topic. Is use of dispersion in daily life. How can we use dispersion in daily life? So in daily life, the dispersion is used in rainbow formation. So how is a rainbow formed? You might have noticed that rainbow forms only when there is rainfall and there is presence of sunlight. That there must be light and there must be rainfall both. Why? Because the raindrops that are falling are actually small droplets of water which behaves as prisms. The droplets of water, have you seen? They can't be seen, of course, but in diagrammatic way they are drawn like this. They are acting as triangular pieces of prism. So when the light falls on them, when light falls on them for a particular angle, it enters the prism and suffers total internal reflection. Now this is a tweak in here. You don't think that in case of prisms that the light enters and they get dispersed. They are very small. This water droplets, this suspended water droplets in air, which behaves as prisms, are very small. They do not have so much of space, or they do not get so much of time to split or disperse the light rays. So there must be total internal reflection. Due to this total internal reflection, the light starts to disperse or break away. So what is the step-by-step formation of rainbow? That the raindrops suspended in air, they behave as small tiny prisms of water droplets. Now when the sunlight falls on these water droplets, total internal reflection takes place inside the water droplets. Due to this total internal reflection, the light rays break down into 7 constituent colors and we see a rainbow around here. That's why every time that when it rains and there is sunlight, we don't see a rainbow. Why? Because due to total internal reflection, I must get a particular angle of incidence. Because until and unless the angle of incidence is more than the critical angle, I cannot get a total internal reflection. So, for formation of rainbow, total internal reflection is required, and that's why only for a particular angle of incidence, for a particular angle of sun above the earth's horizon, we can see a rainbow forming. Others is not possible. So the rainbow is a daily life example of dispersion. Correct? Now the next topic is atmospheric refraction. Now, what is this atmospheric refraction? The layers of atmosphere are generally of not the same density. I told you in the previous classes also that the atmosphere is made up of different layers, and all the layers have a particular density. As their densities are different, the light has to travel through various different layers before reaching the earth. This is the earth. So this is the earth around here, okay? And I have different layers of air above us. So when the light from the external sun or the stars or moon or anything, when they travel towards earth, they bend at various levels like this. They go on bending. Why? Because the layers are of not same density. So whenever the density is less and the light is traveling from higher density to lower density, it will move away from the normal. When the density is more and the light is traveling from a lower density to a higher density, it will bend towards normal. So there will be a broken path of light to reach earth when the light comes from outer space. Now, what are the effects? What is our use of this atmospheric refraction? This atmospheric refraction causes twinkling of stars, and second one is advanced sunrise and delayed sunset. Now what is this? You can see, suppose you can consider this as a star. When the light from the star is traveling towards the earth, it is not traveling a straight line. It is bending at many different layers of the air. So the person standing on this place will be getting light in a scattered way, and the light is coming from a very distant object. So I cannot get all the rays on the earth, I will get a few rays. So due to this scattering or due to this refraction, if certain rays are lost due to this bending, what I will get? I will get a lesser amount of light, and when more amount of light reaches to us, I will get a brighter light. So the star seems to twinkle. जब ये लाइट बाहर से आता है बहुत कम परिमाण में, क्योंकि बहुत दूर से आ रहा है ना, so a very less amount of light reaches earth. Due to this atmospheric refraction, some light may be lost due to this bending. So when there is much bending, I will get a less amount of light. Where there is less bending, I will get more amount of light. So sometimes I see a star as very dim light, I see the star as a bright light. So the stars appears to twinkle due to this atmospheric refraction. Now what is the advanced sunrise and delayed sunrise? Suppose the sun is here. The sun has still not risen in the horizon, but the sun is traveling, sun is giving it right it all the way, So the light when enters here on the earth's surface, it gets bent somewhere like this. It will get bend on many regions. So if the person standing here will get a ray of light like this, due to rectilinear propagation of light, due to the bondage of our mind, we are believed to see that the light is always traveling in a straight line. So I will think that the light is traveling in a straight line, means the sun is here. I will think that the sun is here because my sun rays have traveled in a broken path to me. I will see the sun here, but actually the sun is still below the horizon. So I am getting this sunlight before 2 minutes. That is advanced sunrise. That before 2 to 3 minutes before I can see the sunrise, then the actual sunrise has yet taken place. The reverse happens also, delayed sunset. That the sun, suppose the sun has set already below the horizon, but due to this atmospheric refraction, a person will be seeing the sun still is in the sky. So due to this atmospheric refraction, we can see the twinkling of stars and we can see the advanced sunrise and delayed sunset. Correct? So this is also beneficial for our day-to-day activities because these two things are generally very useful. Next, the last topic of the chapter, that is scattering of light rays. Scattering of light rays. When the light travels, I told in the beginning of this class that light travels as a stream of massless particles called photons. Means basically light rays has certain particles in it. That particles may not be visible to us, but it has certain particles in it. So these particles, when collide with other particles, they are the particles of the medium. So if I have particles of the medium and the light is traveling through this medium, then these two particles will collide. And what is the result of collision? Scattering. When two particles collide, they scatter. They do not follow the normal path. So this is the scattering of light, and this can be also known as diffraction. That whenever the particles of light, they are the photons, when travel through a medium that contains particles of a definite size, they scatter, the light particles scatter. The scattering of light is known as diffraction. Now what is the effect of diffraction? This diffraction causes So these are the causes of diffraction. What is the first one? Tyndall effect. What is the Tyndall effect? You might have seen that if you are taking a colloidal solution means a solution in which the particles are neither too large and neither too small. Neither they form a suspension, neither they become insoluble, and neither they are totally soluble. For example, that Glucon-D you are taking, that is neither totally soluble nor insoluble. So when light passes through this colloidal solution, this light scatters and I will get a wider beam of light through this. You must have noticed that when you are entering a dark room, that has been left closed for a certain time, and you are entering that room, and if there is a small hole or there is a small place from which the light enters, the light scatter or light gets a big path while it travels or while it enters the room. The light scatters to a wider path. Means, suppose there is a room and a small hole. you will see that the light is coming like this. You are seeing a broader beam of light. Why? The lights are scattered because the dust particles present inside the room, they act as the scattering particles, and the light particles, they scatter in the scattering particles and they form a wider beam. This forming wider beam of light is known as Tyndall effect. The same things happen for my color of the sky also. The sun rays contain 7 colors. So while traveling from the sun to the earth, the light ray has to travel through different layers of the atmosphere. The layers of the atmosphere has air particles in it. So this air particles causes the light to scatter, but the red color or the orange color or the green color, they are thick or have larger wavelength, so they do not scatter much. And the colors that are having less wavelength, that is blue and violet, they can scatter easily. So they scatter and fill up the space. So we see the sky as blue. I am repeating once again. When the sun rays from the sun travels to the earth, it has to pass through the different layers of the air which contains air particles or air molecules. These air particles causes the photons of light to scatter. Red and orange or yellow, these are having larger wavelength, so they do not scatter much. The light such as blue and violet have short wavelength, they can scatter. So they scatter and fill up the space. So we see the sky as blue color. Then why? You must have seen the photographs that are taken from moon or the photographs that are taken from the outer space. The space appears black. But when we see towards this above the sky, we see the sky as blue. But the astronaut sees the sky or the space as black. Why? Because in the outer space, we don't have air particles. As there is no air particle in the outer space, there will be no scattering. As there is no air particles, there are no scattering. So there is no scattering, so we cannot see any color. है ना? The scattering can take place only when there are particles present. In the space there are no particles present, hence no scattering takes place. Correct? Now the last one. Why does the sky appears red during sunrise and sunset? This let me explain to you. So this is the earth and this is our atmosphere. I am drawing for 5 different positions of sun. This is my sun at position 1. This is my sun, the same distance I will draw here. This is my sun at position 2. And this is my sun at position 3. And this is my position 4, and this is my position 5. Okay, so this is what I do. Now a person is standing here. What will be the effects? When the sunlight is traveling from this place to this place, it has to travel such a long distance. So this place, so this time and this time. At these 2 times, the sun rays has to travel a large distance in the atmosphere. So a large portion of light will suffer this scattering. Due to large scattering, the light that has smaller wavelength has scattered to such an extent that they are not at all visible. इतना ज़्यादा स्कैटर हो गया, इतना ज़्यादा दूर चला गया कि हमको दिख ही नहीं रहा है. So हमको क्या दिखेगा? जो कलर बच गया. So if the shorter wavelength, that is the blue, violet, indigo, green, they have vanished, तो क्या बच जाता है? Yellow, orange and red. This yellow, orange and red is visible during this, and this means during the sunrise and during the sunset. I am repeating once again. During sunrise and sunset, the light of the sun has to travel a very long distance inside our Earth's atmosphere. Due to this long span of traveling in the Earth's atmosphere, a large amount of scattering takes place. Due to this large amount of scattering, the color of the shorter wavelength has vanished, and only the colors of the larger wavelength is visible to us. Hence, we can only see that red, orange or yellow. That's why the sky appears red, orange or yellow during sunrise or sunset. Now what happens during noon, at 12 o'clock noon? At noon, the light has to travel the minimum distance because sun is at the overhead. The light has to travel the minimum distance. So no scattering takes place because I do not get the time to scatter the sun rays. Here the scattering takes place almost nil. That's why during the noon you can see the sun or you can see the sky as pale blue or very whitish in color. Why? Because the scattering does not take place during 12 o'clock, during noon. But during morning and evening, so say 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the evening, you can see the sky as deep blue, perfectly blue. Why? Because the distance traveled is neither too long, neither too short. So scattering of light takes place, and the scattering of light we can see only blue color. Because only blue color gets scattered. Other colors do not get scattered. Okay, so depending on the position of the sun, the light of the sun rays has to travel different distances of the Earth's atmosphere, and due to the different distance of the atmosphere, the scattering takes place more or less. If the scattering takes place more, we can see only red color. If the scattering takes place less, we cannot see any color, we will see white color. And if moderate scattering takes place, we will see blue color of the sky. So this is how the scattering causes the different colors in the sky. Correct? So this is the end of our light chapter. You are welcome to ask me any doubt if arises. Thank you.